The head of the Bank of England warns the costs of an unregulated EU exit would be higher than those for the corona crisis. In doing so, he is contradicting the British government. He seems to want to hide the consequences of a no deal not as much as the government, so he speaks a little bit more freely on this. Andrew Bailey is aware of the power of his words. As head of the Bank of England, he can upset the financial markets with just one sentence, which is why he usually formulates his assessments with due caution. This week, he made an exception. When he appeared before a parliamentary committee, Bailey warned very clearly that the economic costs of a no-deal Brexit would be greater in the long term than the damage caused by the corona pandemic. It is therefore in the best interest of both sides that UK and the EU get a trade agreement. The central bank chief positioned himself clearly against the British government with that. Just the previous weekend, Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak had claimed that the corona crisis posed a much greater threat to the British economy than a no-deal scenario, or, if you like these other terms so much, an Afghanistan-style deal. A free trade agreement is preferable to this, but Britain will definitely prosper, Sunak said. The Chancellor of the Exchequer took Prime Minister Boris Johnson as an example and tried to ignore the looming Brexit chaos. Also in his appearance on Wednesday in the lower house, he represented himself primarily as a fighter against the pandemic. For example, he announced a £4.3 billion package to cushion the corona-related labour market crisis. The British government is clearly trying not to use the word Brexit in the first place, thereby belittling the no-deal scenario looming at the end of the year. The Brexit transition phase, during which Great Britain is still a part of the EU internal market and the customs union, will end in just 5 weeks. If it's not possible to conclude a trade agreement by the end of December, customs duties and customs controls will be introduced from January 1st. The EU Commission President revealed on Wednesday how uncertain the outcome of the negotiation is. I still cannot say today whether there will be an agreement in the end, she said in the European Parliament. The coming days would be crucial. The EU is ready to be creative, said Ursula von der Leyen. But we are not ready to question the existence of our internal market. According to reports, the draft of a contract should be largely ready, apparently 95%. The fishing quotas for EU fishermen in British waters and the so-called level playing field, that means requirements for fair competition between companies in the UK and the EU, are still controversial. And to make this really clear, as long as the most important parts have no solution, you can throw the other 95% in the bin. Without these parts, the 95% will not be ratified or signed without it. It's also unclear how disputes will be settled in the future, because EU Chief Negotiator Michel Barnier has to remain in quarantine in his team due to a corona case. Negotiations are currently only taking place via video conferences. The UK government hopes the talks can be held again in person at the end of the week. I haven't heard about that yet. In London, there is speculation that Prime Minister Johnson will soon intervene to solve the sticking points that have been known for months. From the perspective of diplomats and officials, a phone call or a meeting between Johnson and von der Leyen could develop the necessary political dynamism. In order to get the negotiators out of the impasse, the possibility of writing so-called revision clauses in the contract was recently considered. Or there's another point. Guy Verhofstadt brought the idea into the European Parliament to add guillotine clauses like we have with Switzerland. For example, one could agree to re-examine the controversial fishing quotas in the British Sea after a certain period of time, but there's already disagreement on the question of when this could be so far. The British got a kind of a foretaste of what is looming at the turn of the year on Tuesday, because a test run was undertaken in Calais, France. For the controls that came into force in January, there was a truck jam of around 5 kilometers on the British motorway towards Dover. The government in London estimates that a line of up to 7,000 trucks could emerge by the beginning of 2021. Companies would have to expect a 2-day delay in exporting goods from the UK to the EU. The Brexiteers in Johnson's Conservative Party, however, are not impressed. They prefer to warn of a new war with Brussels. This warmongering language that's always coming up, it's so idiotic, and I'm not only meaning from the government, I also mean from people in my comments. We are not at war, we're not going to war, and there will be no gunboat diplomacy. Nobody is that stupid, even, well, Trump would have been so stupid, but his military wasn't that stupid when he thought about attacking Iran now. And I, from personal experience, know British military, and they obey orders, of course. But there is a limit to what they are willing to do if it's total nonsense, total warmongering, and so on and so on. So I have faith in the British military. According to British newspapers, the EU is allegedly planning to ban the export of sausages made in Great Britain to Northern Ireland because the EU food rules continue to apply there under the withdrawal treaty. And these stipulates that sausages can only be imported if they are frozen at -18 degrees. Even the rather calm Times wrote on Wednesday of a sausage war. Yeah, and I heard about that too, but there are limits to the level of truth in there. Yes, there are issues with those, and I will make a short video about this too. But it's not exactly how it was in the newspapers, but you'll see soon. But if you now want to know more about Brexit, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you in the end screen, next to the subscribe button. And if you want to know more about European or global news and politics, those two channels are right up here. Visit me there too. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß.